Hi there, so welcome to our next video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name's Dave Millard, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and I'm here with...
I'm Ted Cato, I'm one of the demonstrators for the module.
And I'm Adrian Chapman, one of the lecturers.
Brilliant, so we've got a few games to look at in this session, but before we do that, Age, do you want to say a bit about what we asked the students to do?
Absolutely, so the students for this last coursework were asked to submit a small game that demonstrated one of four different things: adaptive difficulty, procedural generation, use of a novel game interface, or a real-world location-based element.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's go and have a look at our first game. So, I'm not quite sure what this one is called actually, I have to wait for the title screen to pop up. Right. Place the blocks between the platforms to earn points. So, oh, here we go. How do I place them? Oh, do I just get the size right, do I?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, this is quite interesting. Yeah, come on. Oops.
So this one, I think primarily was adaptive difficulty. I remember speaking to a student during the expo, and he says that there are a couple of things that go into it, but one of the main ones is how close the gap is to the player when you fill the block. So
Right.
if it thinks you're panicking and falling behind, it will slow the speed.
Aw, it was built for me.
So that works quite well, right? So I'm doing quite... So after a somewhat rocky start, oh, it feels like it's speeding up.
It did speed up there.
So I'm going to be very quiet here as I concentrate.
So,
How does it feel?
How do you feel?
how do you feel about having a toggle between shapes as opposed to an ABC to go between shapes?
Oh.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't talk to you.
Yeah.
With a
My
mouse,
brain.
it might have been a bit easier, because I find it difficult to click and move on a trackpad.
Yes.
It's a little bit. It's not too bad though. I really like the idea. It's such a simple premise, but it's actually quite well executed, and I do think that it's also quite forgiving. So you don't have to be that close for it to get it. And the other thing is, it's a lot easier when the shapes are consecutive, because then you'd have to change it. And I wonder how much of that is being taken into account as well.
So, interestingly, we asked the students if they were going to be adapting to please put their log information that they were using for doing it on the screen. So in the middle we've got, I'm assuming what the user will see, their score and the speed. On the left is the dev data, so looks like for difficulty they're measuring speed, average distance from the square, and filter blocks placed.
So filter blocks placed sounds like
What you're doing.
the measure.
Yeah.
And the other two feel like the thing they're adapting to.
Yes.
So I mean, it's I have to say it's working well, right? In that it's keeping me in the right place in terms of my level of concentration. And every now and again, I go, oh my god, I'm really getting behind, and then it just gives me just that little bit of leeway, right?
Yep.
And I kind of recover. Does someone else want to have a go?
Nope.
That's not 10. So literally just a click to just toggle through. It's very, very simple, but really effective.
Yes.
And it does take your concentration to make it work.
There it is, okay.
So the longer you go, so I don't know what they said about how they're using speed and things, but I noticed the speed is just going up, right?
Yes.
Oh no, it toggled down again.
Yeah, it goes down if you're
down.
placing them close to the player.
So the only other thing so it'll change speed. It says in the course notes it will also reduce the space between platforms.
Yeah. So the filler blocks placed, that's always going up, right? That's the number of things. So the further you go along, that increases. So if they were just using that, my guessing is you'd roughly have a linear difficulty. Right?
Yeah.
Where the further you went, So the thing that makes it really adapt to how well you're doing is the average distance from the square, which is looking at when you're filling them in.
You've slowed down quite a bit.
And then when you fill them in, so yeah, we've gone back to the beginning. So it just shows you how fast it was going.
Yeah. And that they've adapted. They watched you.
So now it's dropped the speed down because it knew you were in a bit of trouble. I don't think they're changing the nature and the type of the gaps. I think they're just changing the speed. Did they say anything about anything else?
They're changing the speed and they are reducing the space between the gaps.
Oh, they are. Okay, so they are doing that. So I think that combination is incredibly effective.
Yeah, me too. And it is created an engaging game.
It is.
That has sucked us all in.
So in terms of the scoring, I noticed you've got a score at the top. I'm not quite sure how the score works. So do they say anything in their game notes about how the score is calculated?
Just let me skim for a moment.
Because
I'm not seeing anything.
Because it is showing your speed.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of nice if the score was somehow related to the current speed. Right? Even if it was a very simple calculation, like the number of blocks, each time you place a block, you score your current speed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it does not actually say how score is calculated.
No.
Because again, the problem with this is that how are you being measured as a player? How is your success being measured?
Yeah.
So if you place so you're on 44, so you've got that gives you 12.
The first one was 20, the second one was 24.
So there's something going on, and it might be to do with how close it is to the piece as well. But so the problem is that are two scores comparable, right?
Right.
And normally the easiest way to get away with this, and we've seen this in a couple of the games, is just to accelerate the scoring for people at high difficulty. So the only way to get the really high scores is to be operating at a high level.
Yeah.
And that then makes sense, and you can then say, okay, someone who's really good operates at high level, they score big, even though it's harder for them. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. It's not clear. There's something funny going on with scoring, but I'm wondering whether you score. Do you score based on how close it is to the block? Do you think?
Maybe it's based on the speed, which is indirectly
So if you
based
fill
on
that, you've got 0.
0. Okay, so let's fill it close to the player, which is 20.
40.
56.
So it's gone down. 12. 20. Yeah, it just I can't understand that relationship. So one of the things here is that not only is it a little bit of a problem that they haven't told us in the game notes, but in the game it's not clear what the relationship is.
So the user has no.
So there's no feedback there telling them that they're scoring in a particular way for, and we're kind of speculating on it. I think that's probably something that should have been addressed. So I think that in terms of let's talk about it in terms of the criteria again. So in terms of quality, very simple.
It's very simple, but it's an interesting game.
Very effective and an interesting idea.
Yeah,
and it's fun, and I want to keep playing.
Yeah.
And
it is.
Yeah.
It is an interesting little challenge. I mean, you're not going to spend 100 hours on it, but
possibly
you'd spend a little bit of time just seeing if you could while things away, particularly if it was extended with other types of scoreboard or achievements. So yeah, I think in terms of doing what we asked them to do, which was to develop a kind of a fun game prototype, it works really well. What I'm most impressed by, I think, is the second part, which is how well the adaptive difficulty works.
And it's doing very well.
Because they either by judgment or by luck, they've come across those two factors that really works and keeps the game right at the place where it should be.
Yes.
So that's in terms of the brief of implementing the adaptive kind of engine. And if there's a problem, I think it's kind of in that relationship with the score.
So there's this little I was going to say, never mind.
sorry.
So the other thing I noticed you obviously do the optimal strategy, which is just to keep your thing down there. change it to the right size, go left and right. It would have been nice if there had been something in the game to stop you doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So if there had been something where, occasionally you had a black block or something that knocked your block off, and then you had to another one drop down or something, right? So that you were forced to kind of jump in and out of the line.
Yeah.
That would have been a little bit of an improvement, I think. And obviously there are countless ways that they could have added complexity, but simple but effective. Let's see if I can go.
I don't think I'll beat my high
I
score.
just wish there was a bit more feedback about the score.
Yeah.
That'd be nice to see.
It's a little unresponsive with placing the blocks, I think.
Oh, do you see? So I thought the snap too was quite good.
I feel like it's a little inconsistent at times, though.
So if you sit behind it, it will actually snap
Yeah.
when you're about a third of the way into the space. But if you fall behind and you're trying to pop it in, you have to be right over the space. So there's something there. I've been watching.
Okay, so I guess it just, intuitively, if I bring it, say, straight within it, it feels like it doesn't always, there.
Yeah,
that felt
that.
like it should have.
It's when you're kind of coming back into it that's hard.
Yeah.
So it's
Something's there.
So okay, I mean,
I think it was an effective game and
effective but simple.
Yeah.
Depth engine that works. But just perhaps a little bit more thought should have gone into how the scoring was working and how feedback about the scoring is given to the player.
Yeah. Watching this, you see every single comedy movie trope going in. You can skin this a million ways. You've got the baby in the carriage rolling down, and you're frantically or the railroad running down, and you're frantically laying tracks.
Yeah.
You could theme it across so many different categories.
Okay, you're doing well.
Yes,
Okay.
but it's
I think we probably should move on. So here's our next game. Just loading it up. And let's see if I can get it to go full screen by something.
let's.
There we go. Come on, there we are. Blatant disregard for quality.
Right.
Very nice. All right. Help.
Oh, wow.
Dodge the bullets and stay. It's another screen of text. Right?
Yes.
Stay alive as long as you can. The better dodge the bullets, the more difficult the game becomes. Higher difficulty grants you more points. So there's that link. When you get hit, the difficulty is decreased. Keyboard, left, right arrows, space to jump. I maybe our controller option as well. Okay, so let's play and see how we get on. Oh, okay. Yeah, I played this in the expo. So I'm this little chap down the bottom.
You can fall through your platforms.
I can fall through platforms and I can double jump.
Oh, no.
And my objective is just to not get hit, basically.
Oh, what's the yellow square now?
So I think they are spawn points.
Oh, spawn points. I see.
For various types of evil.
So on the left, is that your difficulty meter?
Yes, I think so.
And if that falls to 0?
And I think you take out. So if I get hit, that's going to kill me. All right. Score. Feels like a shit for an Ian M. Banks novel. Disregard for quality. Okay. I was actually better at this when I played it in the expo.
Given the spawn points, and it's a nice way to jump into that, and the way that the...
I'm trying to get at the top there, 'cause it's actually quite hard to...
Did that just follow you?
There's a homing.
The red balls follow, huh?
Yeah, there's some are homing, some are kind of more scatterguns. Ah!
How do you get rid of it?
So, yeah, I'm not sure.
Now, interestingly, that was... so they changed what type and where the spawn point for that red was. Mm-hmm. Okay. Alright, so, interesting.
Hey, I'm up here. Right, my ambition is fulfilled.
So, according to these notes, they are working with adaptive difficulty, but have also implemented some procedural generation.
So I presume that's in terms of where the balls appear, where the spawn points appear.
I'm thinking so. So, but they
come
very
on.
little about. So as the player stays alive, difficulty should increase. The higher difficulty, the more rapidly the player's score increases. When a player gets hit, instead of dying, the difficulty is reduced.
Yeah, so that's the difficulty on the left.
Okay, it seems like
Oh, I see. Very nice.
it seems like for the first however many seconds of the game, say 30 seconds to a minute, you can't lose, and then it's only when the red meter appears
Yes.
in the.
So I think the idea is that you can't let that drop below the red meter.
Yeah.
So that's quite.
Where is the red meter?
I think
It'll appear there. You
Oh,
go.
I see the red meter.
so I can't let it now drop below that, right? Which is quite nice actually. It's a nice
Yeah.
visualization. I should actually try to. I'm obsessed with getting onto the top, whereas what I should be doing is trying to avoid the balls. All right. It's an odd design of a level actually. I wonder why they've gone for this.
I think you can jump through the red platforms at the top.
You think I can go up there like that?
Yeah.
Double jump. Yeah, there we go. You might actually be paying more attention because I find it a lot easier up here. I mean, it's playable.
Yeah.
I kind of.
Now here comes the red ball of doom. Are you guaranteed a loss after the red ball starts launching because it homes in on you?
So one of the things I commented on with them in the expo was I felt that there should be some ways for the background to interact a little bit with the things that are coming after you. And I was particularly thinking about the homing stuff.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to get one of them following me and then lure it into a place where it
kills your spawn point
where
or
it
something.
kills,
Wouldn't that be great?
or
If it kill a spawn point.
or just destroys the ball itself or something like that, right?
Because now, I mean, it's already early and you've launched a red ball of doom, you're dead. Although you're doing fine dying without the red ball of doom.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite slow, but it's obviously coming for me. There we go, I'll just run away down here. So I presume that the idea is I can just outrun them because they're or I could collect. Sorry, did you say collect them? To collect all the red balls. So now I'm a bit less obsessed about getting onto the top platform. I'm enjoying it a bit more.
It doesn't really feel like the difficulty on the left is actually tied to the difficulty of the level, because as soon as you started this round, you had a purple spawn and a red spawn, which filled the whole level with purples and reds, which
I have to say,
then when it was 50% full.
In play, I'm not perceiving any difference. There's definitely something at the beginning here because there's very little going on, right? So it's like okay, but the difficulty is actually much more to do with where the balls are spawning.
Yes, and what type of balls they are.
Yeah. So these horrible little things here.
Yeah, those balls.
It says when the game increases in difficulty, the bullets fly faster, more spawners appear at the same time, from 1 to 6 at a time. I can't imagine the game is very playable with 6 spawns at once.
Although a spawn just disappeared there.
Yeah, I think they come in and then they
come in and go out.
So is it gone out just because of time, or was it a difficulty thing?
Yeah.
Series of death march. It's 49. All right, we're getting better. I'm getting up there. Okay, well, in terms of quality, what do you think? It controls really well, actually.
Yeah.
And that little animation they've got for the guy, that's quite effective.
I think a really small tweak they could have made is, a lot of platformers have that way. If you get damaged, you have a few seconds grace period where you can recover from that.
Yeah.
And where you won't get hit by something else. Whereas this, if you immediately get hit by 6 balls at once by accident, then it's game over before you can tell what's happened.
Anyway.
Oops.
Whoa, that went.
Yeah.
And only for a score of 36.
Yeah, it's
There's a feedback problem.
So
going
in
on
terms
here.
in terms of quality, I mean, there's no sound here, but there's some nice information going on with the thing on the left hand side, showing me how I'm doing. I'd have liked a bit more variety in the levels, or
Things
just
you
a
can do
slightly
jump
more
on.
interesting level. That is actually
Yeah.
a thing. I'd be quite happy with one level if it had some more interesting features in it.
Yeah.
I've got, but nevertheless, there's platforms I can't jump through and platforms I can. There's at least 3 different types of enemies, I think, and the controls are quite nice. And we've had a number of games where the controls for platforms really weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
So to have one which is nice and responsive like this is quite nice.
Yeah.
So quality-wise, I think a little bit of a mixed bag, but generally not doing too badly at all.
Yeah.
In terms of the adaptive difficulty, I like what they're trying to do, and
Yes.
I like the idea of the kind of the difficulty and the, if you like, the level you have to keep it at as being different. And I think that's kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
But the adaptation that it's doing,
I don't think it succeeds.
it doesn't.
Completely.
It's not. I mean, like, what's my difficulty is quite low. I mean, admittedly, though, these are all my old spawns ones, but
And that's just it. It takes so long for the balls to get gone
to clear. Yeah.
that by changing that, so now you do actually look significantly easier.
Yes.
But it took so long for those balls to clear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if it recognised
A little-
which were the spawners that were most
Yeah.
difficult, and it.
And said he doesn't do well with red balls. No more
Yeah.
red balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we said this to a few of them that in a sense they gather lots of rich information and then just all compress it down into a single figure.
Yes.
And in actual fact, doing something a bit more nuanced with those different dimensions would be
Yes.
quite good. But it is having an effect. It's just that the reason that it's difficult to perceive is, I think, because it's delayed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm not sure that randomly choosing a spawner and a position for that spawner is procedural generation.
No. And it's also not quite clear how that's. So, how was that linked at all to the difficulty, or was it just surely the number?
It's a
It says that the focus of this game is on adaptive difficulty, and then they have a statement of what we have also implemented procedural generation and added controller support for a new controller. But
in terms of what the difficulty is actually changing, is it just the number of spawn points, or is it where the spawn points go, or
So,
the type of
a player with a lower skill will play the game shorter. As the game increases in difficulty, the bullets fly faster, more spawners appear.
Yeah.
Lifetime of the spawner is increased, so they don't disappear soon.
Right.
More bullet types are added. Some bullets become more randomized, making them even more dangerous, which I actually just always disagree with that. Like, once you teach a player what a bullet does, keep it that.
Yeah.
These things add unpredictability and increase the tempo. So
Yeah.
those are the things that happen.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, there all are definitely things that make it more challenging. But again, there's a lot there that you could do some interesting, sophisticated things with.
Yeah.
Like thinking about the sorts of balls that are there. Like just considering how many balls of a certain type on a screen, and then kind of thinking about whether or not you're mixing them up and
Yes. And
think about the relationships between things.
And on top of that, and it's happened in a few games before where effectively you can create an unwinnable situation. And in this case, it's somewhat forgiving in terms of how many essentially hits you get before you just completely die.
Yeah.
But there are places where you can spawn things
Yeah.
that make it you're dead, you're lost, there's nothing you can do.
So I mean,
I just got hit by a ball that appeared from underneath
right.
the
Yeah.
map as well.
So the
So-
spawn
Yeah.
point was.
I mean,
was
it
not a-
sounds like
Yeah.
we're being quite critical, but actually, I mean, I do
Yeah.
quite like this
Yeah.
game. Actually,
Yeah.
it's quite fun to play.
Yes.
And I think they've got the right sort of ideas. It's just that maybe they're kind of, it just lacks a little bit of finesse.
Yep.
In terms of
The waters got a little muddied and it just needs to be cleared up a little.
yeah. but it's very playable.
Agreed. Should we move on
Yeah,
to the
let's
game?
move on. Next up, we have...
Lone Commando,
Oh, okay, Lone Commando.
I believe.
So I can maximise it. Here we go. Health 1000. So are we
your
going?
health is automatically ticking down.
I think that's because he's being hit.
Yes.
Yeah. So can I move?
You've got a combo.
Oh, it's
You've
that's
killed
interesting.
already. So here's one. Now, despite my complaints the day of a tutorial screen, text does not a tutorial screen make.
Oh, okay.
It would be nice to have something.
Why can't I fire it?
Got no ammo. You need
You've
to
no ammo,
reload.
so-
It looks like.
Oh,
hit
ah,
R,
to-
hit R, yep.
Ah,
And
okay.
it takes some time to reload.
So I don't think I can move. I think I've got...
Try your mouse. I vaguely remember playing this game and I thought I could move.
No, it's not. So as far as I can tell, I can't... Oh, I hate that reload thing. That's... Also, can I... Oh, yeah, I got it.
So there are different types. What?
Yeah, how do I can't...
Yeah, you just got them.
So again, we had this with the game earlier on. There's a really important piece of information that the game needs to tell me, which is that I've run out of ammo and I need to reload.
Yes.
And the information for that is not where my eye is on the screen. So that's basically what I'm doing. Is I'm kind of I wait till I've run out of ammo, and then I'm like, oh, I've run out of ammo, and then I hit the reload button. Is there not a way? Can I?
You
Ah,
should.
there we go. I'm going.
Did you move at last?
So I think I've been fooled because when I very first started playing, there's something odd going on here. So I'm trying the WASD keys. That's not doing
You
anything.
moved a little bit there, and then it was done.
I did. Yeah.
Are you moving in the direction of the mouse?
Yes, you follow your mouse.
Ah, okay. So basically, Q moves me forward. It's the only control I have. Is that
And
right?
then you can shoot. Yes.
And I can shoot, so I can run away. Brave Sir Robin. Okay.
Final score.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have
Run
1,000 health, and it's
away.
basically how long do you hang out before you're dead?
Yeah. I quite like the fact that the shots go through them. Oops. Oh, so it looks like I've started to not be terrible, and therefore I've got these horrible little ones. And horrible big ones.
Do they shoot at you at all? Because they look like they've got guns.
I
They-
believe it's
They
just walking
do?
into you.
Oh, I've got to reload. See, I completely forgot. Okay, I'll go over here now. Run away!
So in this game,
So, what am I supposed to just survive until
yes,
I get...
it is killing as many people as you can before you die.
Oh, okay, so I'm going to die
Okay.
when it gets to 0 anyway. Game over. Okay. So I have a limited amount of time. I have 60 seconds.
Yep.
Did that enemy just come back to life? Or did it spawn immediately in front of you?
Oh, so I zoomed in.
You zoomed by accident.
How have I zoomed in? How have I zoomed in? That's very odd.
Is it the...
So interestingly, in their adaptive difficulty, so they're trying to do adaptive difficulty, and they in their notes they state that they did not use score as something. You've done something to your screen, by the way. You've increased.
Yeah, I've zoomed in,
in or
and
something.
I have no idea how it happened.
Yes. Oh, sorry. So, anyways,
Yeah.
so what they've decided to do
Can
is
I-
instead of using score, because they felt that all players
try.
will eventually increase their score, they're going to use a combo score.
Okay. Q and Meister.
Q?
As they get higher in
So,
that
Q
combo
walk forward.
score,
Sorry, W.
as they get higher in the combo score, more enemies get spawned.
R to reload.
Now,
Okay.
interestingly, and unfortunately, the combo score is not clearly defined in this work. So,
So yeah, what is combo is 0 at the moment? 0, 1, 3. looks like it's consecutive kills or something.
But I think it constantly counts down as well.
So do you think it just ticks down?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. 4, 3. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So combo is just the number of players you kill.
Well, it doesn't actually say. So
I think
could be kills over time.
I think it's kills over time, and
Yeah.
as soon as you stop doing that, it kind of counts down. Okay, so the combo is effectively the reflection of how difficult it thinks the game should be.
And then based on how hard that combo is or how high the combo is, it'll spawn more and different types of nasties.
Okay. And the whole point of the game is to score as many as you can in the time. So
Yes.
the more nasties on screen, the more opportunity you have.
Yes.
But at the same time, it will also start spawning different types, including those horrible little guys who could go almost as fast as you.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Right. Okay.
So interestingly, though, and here is somewhat of what it falls down. They are basically of choice of which enemy type is a random number generator.
Okay, so that's not related to the combo at all.
That does not look like combo. It looks like number of.
So that's a shame. So the only reason
Spawn
we're seeing
points.
more of them is because
You've got more
more
spawn
enemies,
points.
so more
Yeah.
opportunity can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least as this is written, there might be a
Okay.
nuance missed in here.
So I mean, it's a very simple game.
Yep.
And again, I think actually it benefits from that. And that simple mechanic of firing and hitting them is fairly satisfying.
Yes.
It'd be nice if there was a little more reaction from them.
Yes.
If there was some kind of, if you were knocking them back slightly when you hit them, that would be quite useful, I think. And would also give some other way of differentiating between the different size of enemies. The big enemies don't get knocked back as far or something.
I think the controls are a little ill-conceived as well, because once one of the small enemies comes within like a certain radius, you've pretty much lost the game because you can't kill them in any reasonable amount of time, and you can't escape from them long enough to turn around and attack them.
Now, the other thing that I'm not entirely sure about is this health button. At one point, actually, Dave, you had gotten a -4 health.
Right.
And so I'm not entirely sure how health comes in with combo or score or just death.
I presume I died at that
See,
point.
there's a -8. So maybe that's just the final computation.
Maybe it's just, So
I'll take that as the final
they've forgotten
computation.
to floor it.
Yes.
Zero.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
So okay, let's go through it. So in terms of quality, it's actually not bad. I think I said simple, but simple sometimes works really well. I think given how simple it is, it would have been nice to try and put a bit more emphasis on this kind of mechanic of shooting, and like perhaps have a knockback, perhaps have some sound associated with it. That would really have been helpful. I also don't think it's a good idea to launch you straight into the game without any kind of
Here's how to move.
Or his information. I think kind of they're clearly missing a trick there. But in terms of the core gameplay and the way it looks, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Kind of effective. So in terms of the adaptive difficulty and how that is working, what we're looking at is does it work and does it work well?
Yes.
So it clearly does work. They are monitoring something. It's just one stat, I think, isn't it?
It's that combo.
combo.
We're watching the combo, which we're not
So
sure is house combo.
So they're monitoring that, and again, this is where having a simple game kind of gets in the way slightly because they've not got so much to play with.
That's right.
But they are monitoring it, and they are changing the way that the game is working.
So
do you feel it's perceptibly getting more difficult as we're playing?
It feels like it reaches
combo
the same difficulty the same time every single game.
Yes.
And it feels like if I want to achieve a high score, you reach a certain point where you just have to accept the fact that some enemies are going to damage you.
So it's like you peak at around sort of this point, and then the combo goes down again. Yeah.
So in a way, this has, much like the ball video just before this, some of the hardship comes in that the things are already on the screen that are really difficult. And so there's a lag time, and I can't deal with this level of difficulty because they're already here and they're just going to be here for a while.
Swamping me.
And they're swamping me.
Yeah.
However, one of the things I do like about this is that because your combo just ticks down over time, there is some taking into account. Oh, you've got a new bad guy there. There is some taken into account that I'm just going to be swamped for a little while.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that the adaptive thing is clearly doing something. Maybe it is the lag, but it certainly when I was playing it, it didn't really perceptibly make a difference.
No.
It just felt like it was roughly the same, or as Ted was saying, kind of going through cycles repeatedly. In terms of meaningfulness, so again, we've seen that these are perfectly appropriate games for adaptive difficulty. They kind of want to get you into that zone of flow and keep you there. And as long as the points are linked to the level of difficulty, and in this case, I suppose if it's the number of enemies on the screen, that kind of works.
So I will say the one thing on adaptive difficulty is not one of you have ever actually made it to a countdown of 0. You all die. Actually, you might in this. Nope, you died here. So in every single game both of you have played, you've never made it to the end timer.
There was one.
Was there
that's
one?
When I stopped firing and I just ran away.
And the runaway game. Okay.
And the runaway one seemed to work, probably because the combo counted down and that was it. But obviously I'm not generating score.
Right.
So
if we had a very nicely tuned adaptive difficulty, I would expect that you would get into a zone where you could play, and the only reason the game would end because that timer went down.
Yeah, I mean
right?
yes. So we're being overwhelmed. So in terms of is it meaningful? I think it suits the type of game. It's implicitly linked to the score, so that kind of works fine. Have they done as much of it as they could have done? Have they really made it into a benefit of the game? I'm not sure. That it might just be an artifact of balance.
Yeah.
That maybe, like you said, maybe the balance isn't quite right, or it may be that lag. It doesn't feel quite as effective as it perhaps could have been. And again, I think the problem here is that they've not given themselves enough mechanically to play with.
Right. So things that could happen, right? So for examples of levers that they could do, somebody who continually forgets to do the reload button and dies or gets swamped, their score starts going down. Maybe the reload takes less for those poor people.
Or there's an alternative weapon you can pick up where you don't have a reload, or there's some other thing going on.
You've got a magic wand, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the increase in difficulty is a little unfair at times as well, because the enemies spawn at random positions in the screen.
Yeah.
So it's very possible for one of those purple enemies to appear right next to me, which isn't a fair increase in difficulty because, like I said, it's impossible to get away with them. It's almost impossible to fight a purple enemy without taking damage.
But this is what we said about nuance, right? So that what they should be doing is they should be monitoring how well you're doing against the purple enemies versus the red enemies, and then basically try and balance that. So you've got just the right level of purple enemies on the screen. But what they're doing is amalgamating everything and applying that across the board. So it clearly works. It clearly adapts, but the adaptation doesn't work quite as well as it could, and it fits the game, but they haven't quite taken advantage of it as well as they might have done. Okay, so here we go. Space Wars, a marketing mishap. So, me gone mad. Only you can prevent TV delay. Please use laptop screen to prevent it. Very, very useful reminder. Alright, here we go. Space Wars. Oh, we got some music.
Excellent.
Options or controls, I guess we want. So movement, next song, previous song, use weapon. Oh, okay. So, let's play.
Oh, I remember.
You are a ship in the first Great Space War. Destroy all Yunti ships. Avoid destroying the Firbolg. Okay. Don't kill these, kill these.
And aren't they very similar?
The marketing department note, due to a miscommunication, both sides of this war chose similar colours. They've consulted the Judith's colour chart. This side will be fighting in Lost Lake, while the other side will be fighting in this season's shade of Atlantic blue. Lovely. All right. They really are similar.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
So I have to kill the things with a kind of yellow tail.
Yes.
All
The
right.
circly engine heart thing is also a good indicator.
Yes. Design your ship. Okay, I think we'll just go with this, but it looks like I can
Yeah, if you just
configure.
put some random characters in there, it changes the appearance and the stats.
Okay.
And it's a trade-off, so there is a balance that you have to come to.
Oh yeah, look at that. So, I'll go with that. I don't know what that is, but I'll go with it. All right, there we go. So, I am using this, and it was space to fire.
Don't shoot your own ships.
So those. I want to get that one. Go on you.
That's your ship.
No, that's not my ship. My ship's.
No,
I thought I had to
it's your
kill.
ally. Okay, so there's
No,
the
hang
bad
on.
guy.
I can't remember. Did I have to kill the ones the
Jelly
yellows?
is
This one's
giant
clearly
blob.
Atlantic blue.
Was it the yellow ones I had to kill?
Yellow blob butt you have to kill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some with the sort of X-shaped engine. You don't want to kill the ones with an X-shaped engine.
The shooting is. I did when I spoke to them about this. The shooting's really odd. There's a you have to press.
Yes, and
And
then
it
you
kind of
release-
charges up.
There, now you can shoot. Now you can shoot.
So which initially is really annoying, but but I think it's because of the expectation. You're kind of expecting it to be quite different than that, and actually it works fine. There we go. So I'll kill that one as well. That's one of mine. Oh, did I hit those things?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I did. Boom, replay. Okay, so there's some interesting choices here.
Yes.
So yeah, the adaptive difficulty part, it says here in the notes that it uses an average of the previous 10 games to work out a percentage increase in the average. So you can perform consistently well for 10 or so games.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've kind of got used to the strange firing now, and I'm quite enjoying myself. But it's not clear to me.
There's a
Okay.
there's a seed-based random generation for where the ships come in. Oh, sorry, for the ships themselves. This is what you did in the beginning.
Yeah.
and the ship's positions as well. I was talking to him during the expo.
Yes.
And he was saying
So-
that I think it's for a certain difficulty and
Yes.
a certain seed, the level will always be the same.
Oops.
That's right.
Just shot my own. So was it control or something to change tunes?
I think you need to unlock
Control or
them.
all. Yes, you have
Yeah. Oh, I feel it. I think I might start with a few though. So a big part of this seemed to be the funky tunes. So when I played it in the expo, we had a lot of funky tunes going. I'm a bit disappointed I'm not getting more funky tunes. Oh, ooh. Go on, I'll let you. Don't differ. So I'm at 47%. Do you want to try to and see how you get on?
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, okay. So it's monitoring how well you do in each game iteration, and it's looking over the last 10 game window, and then it's using that to figure out what challenge to set to you.
Yes.
And that's the number of ships that are spawning. And anything else
I'm
that's
working on
changing?
that one. Sorry.
So presumably the power-ups or something as well.
The dynamic difficulty affects enemy damage and
Right.
inversely player damage, and whether enemies should be spawned.
Okay. So basically our relative power changes.
Yeah. And then how many things are actually on the screen can change.
Okay. But it's over a number of iterations. And how does it judge how well I am doing? What was the metric it's using?
The score of the game just played.
So it's literally just the scores. So it's
Yeah.
looking purely at the scores last 10 games.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I kind of appreciate what they're trying to do there, but I do wonder whether that is too long a time scale or too much of a piece to kind of adapt over. Why aren't they looking at performance within the game? So let's go through the things. So in terms
Yes.
of quality, I mean it's got kind of a very nice pixel art style.
Yes.
I think that works really well. The music and sound effects. They've made some interesting design decisions.
And I actually want to comment that I appreciate both the humor and the little extra complexity of,
Yeah.
is that my ship?
Yeah.
Is that,
That-
I'm enjoying that.
That's a fun little twist on this, and it stops it being just
Just
another standard.
let's go shoot. Yes.
Shoot 'em up, vertical scroller, right? So I think all of those things, work really well. So in terms of the procedural generation and adaptive difficulty, a little bit of procedural generation for the ships, I think that's quite fun,
Yeah.
and I think and kind of it's quite an imaginative use of procedural generation. The adaptive difficulty, I can see what they're trying to do, but it just feels to me like the timescale is too big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That if I'm getting bogged down and about to die in this
Yeah.
level, I would really like to be saved.
But it
yeah.
so it's difficult, actually quite difficult for us to see if it's working.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got no reason to doubt that it is, and I think things have got slightly different than when we very first started.
It doesn't feel too different in terms of difficulty.
No, the perception of that difficulty isn't huge, is it?
And the idea of each level at whatever difficulty spawning the same
Yeah.
enemies in the same place seems contradictory. It seems contradictory
Yes.
to the idea of
Yeah, it
procedural
does.
generation.
So I almost wonder. I almost wish they'd gone further with the prop gen for the ships. So kind of if there are different types of, so maybe instead of dropping health potions, maybe there are certain types of your own ship which are kind of medical ships that you go and
Right.
intercept with and they
Mhm.
heal you or something. But they look very like the enemy ships, and it just kind of turns it into a little, plays a bit more with that whole identification.
I
thing.
like that actually.
Yeah, you've got a bit more going on screen now, it looks a bit. So because I really like that aspect of it, and I feel they could have gone further with it.
Yes.
And I think that comes in with the next bit, which is the meaningfulness bit. So I think it clearly is meaningful to kind of to do this kind of generation. I think the procedural generation of ships, given the similarity, is really cute, and that kind of works. In terms of how well success is measured and about how your score is impacted by the current difficulty level, I guess you automatically score a bit more because there's more ships around, but at the same time you're being penalised in other ways, right? Because
Yes.
your fire is less,
Mm.
and I'm not sure they're applying any kind of multiplier to the score.
Not that
that's
I've seen.
So that's a shame because
Yeah.
it means that I think people's scores are not really comparable.
So I just want to compare the actual damage of. So that ship had a very, very high damage,
Okay.
and I want to try and see because I was about middle of the way damage for the
Yeah.
previous ship, and it still took 2 shots. I think so. If I do it now with very low damage,
Yeah. And let's see what happens.
Oh, that was the other thing I remember in this game. It takes you. It costs you a point in your score to shoot,
Oh yes.
and
yes,
but you gain 10 points for every enemy killed. I can't remember what the
Yeah.
consequences of
Okay.
shooting your own is.
So, but again,
so that means that now it takes me
Yeah.
3. It takes me 3 hits to kill an enemy with that low damage.
So that means the better you are,
Yeah.
the less you get for destroying an enemy. That's the problem.
So
So
if you can shoot it in 1 hit, you get 9 points total.
so
If it takes you 5
yeah.
hits, you only get 5 points.
yeah. So the better you are, the fewer points you score for the ships. So actually, the correlation between the current level of difficulty and your ability to score is not only not exaggerated enough; it's the wrong way round.
It's almost reversed, yeah.
So I think that's a real problem in terms of how meaningful it is to play. I think that was a mistake, and that's a shame because I think there's a lot to like.
There's a
in
lot
this game.
in this game that should, yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's been a couple of design decisions about the way in which that is managed, which don't quite gel.
Yeah.
Because for that particular difficulty I was just on, and with that particular ship configuration, it was almost impossible for me to destroy an enemy, which means I could only score a negative score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think kind of a lot of potential, and we really like some of the ideas in there.
Yes.
And the is doing something and is working. But I think in terms of in terms of the way it's integrating the design, unfortunately, it may even be harmful to the
Possibly.
to the game. Yeah. Okay, I think that was our last one,
I
right?
think so.
Yes.
So thank you very much for watching, and we will be back in the next video.